Welcome to section 8.8, credit cards. Objective 1, find the interest, the balance due, and the minimum monthly payment for credit card loans. So using a credit card is an example of an open-end installment loan, commonly called revolving credit. Open-end loans differ from fixed installment loans such as car loans and mortgages in that there's no schedule for paying a fixed amount each period. Credit card loans require users to make only a minimum monthly payment that depends on the unpaid balance and the interest rate. Credit cards have high interest rates compared to other kinds of loans. Customers receive a statement called an itemized billing that includes the unpaid balance on the first day of the billing period, the total balance owed on the last day of the billing period, a list of purchases and cash advances made during the billing period, any finance charges or other fees incurred, the date of the last day of the billing period, the payment due date, and the minimum payment required. Customers who make a purchase during the billing period and pay the entire amount of the purchase by the payment due date are not charged interest. By contrast, customers who make cash advances using their credit cards must pay interest from the day the money advanced until the day it is repaid. Interest is calculated using I equals PRT, where R is the monthly rate and T is 1 month. The principal P is the average daily balance. The average daily balance is the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period divided by the number of days in the billing period. Okay, so that is our formula. The following steps summarize the process for determining the average daily balance. Step 1, we make a table that shows the beginning date of the billing period, each transaction date, and the unpaid balance for each date. Step 2, we'll add a column to the table that shows the number of days at each unpaid balance. Step 3, we'll add a final column to the table that shows each unpaid balance multiplied by the number of days that the balance is outstanding. Step 4, we'll find the sum of the products in the final column of the table. This dollar amount is the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period. And then step 5, we'll compute the average daily balance. So let's do an example together. A credit card company calculates interest using the average daily balance method. The monthly interest rate is 1.6% of the average daily balance. The following transactions occurred during May 1st to May 31st billing period. Our first column is the transaction descriptions. The second column is the transaction amount. Our first row tells us the previous balance that was carried over from the month of April, and that was $8,240. May 1st is the billing date. May 7th, we made a payment of $350. So there was a credit to the account. On May 15th, May 17th, and May 30th, we charged the credit card. We purchased a computer, we ate at a restaurant, and we purchased some clothes. And then May 31st is the end of the billing period, and our payment due date is June 9th. Okay. So A is telling us to find the average daily balance for the billing period. So we begin by finding the average daily balance for the billing period by first making a table that shows the beginning date of the billing period, each transaction date, and the unpaid balance for each date. So in my first column here, I'm going to have the date, and I'm going to have the unpaid balance in my second column. For the date, I'm going to list all the dates that were given to me. So May 1st, May 7th, May 15th, May 17th, and May 30th. And then for each date, I'm going to determine the unpaid balance. So for May 1st, I had a previous balance from April. So that's $8,240. May 7th, I had a credit. So my balance decreased. So I will subtract $350. May 15th, I added more to my balance by purchasing a computer. May 17th, I added more. I went out to eat. And May 30th, I also added more. I purchased some clothing. So my total unpaid balance was $9,520.92. Okay. So now we can extend this table by adding two more columns. The next column is going to show the number of days at each unpaid balance. And then the last column is going to show each unpaid balance multiplied by the number of days that the balance is outstanding. Okay, so that's the number of days at each unpaid balance. And then the last column, the unpaid balance times the number of days. So let's first find the number of days at each unpaid balance. So between May 1st to May 7th, 6 days passed. So I had my previous balance for 6 days. Between May 7th to May 15th, before I purchased my restaurant or purchased food at a restaurant, 8 days passed with a payment of or an unpaid balance of $7,890. Then on May 17th was my next purchase, so 2 days passed, and then May 30th was my last purchase, 13 days passed, and then the end of the billing period is May 31st, so that would be 2 days later. So my total would come out to be 31 days in this billing period, which is correct because there's 31 days in May. So now we want to find the unpaid balance times the number of days. So we're going to multiply the unpaid balance amount times the number of days to get the total of outstanding credit. Okay, so I took 6 times 8,240, then 8 times 7,890, then 2 times 9,295, then 13 times $9,340.20, and then 2 times $9,520.92. So that gives me a total of $271,614.44. Okay, so that is the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period. Okay, so next we're going to divide the sum of the unpaid balance for each day in the billing period by the number of days in the billing period. Okay, so this gives us the average daily balance. So the average daily balance here is going to be the $271,614.44 divided by the 31 days. And this then gives us the approximated average daily balance of $8,761.76. Okay. So now for B, we're asked to find the interest to be paid on June 1st, the next billing date. All right. So our monthly interest rate, if we go back to our previous problem, is 1.6%. Okay, so that is our interest that we will need. All right, so our interest formula is I equals PRT. So P is going to be our average daily balance. Then we're going to multiply it by our interest rate, which is 1.6%. So as a decimal, that's 0.016. Then we're going to multiply it by T, which is 1. Okay, 1 month. So that gives us a total of approximately $140.19. So the interest or the finance charge for the June 9th bill will be $140.19. Okay, so now we want to find the balance due on June 9th. Okay, so the balance due on June 9th, which is the next billing date, is the unpaid balance on May 31st plus the interest. So the balance due is going to be the unpaid balance on May 31st. Okay, so that's obtained from our table on the previous slide, plus our interest that we just found here in B. So the interest again, or finance charge, is obtained from B. And then we're going to sum that together, giving us the total $9,661.11. So that is the balance due on June 9th. D. This credit card requires a $10 minimum monthly payment if the balance due at the end of the billing period is less than $360. Otherwise, the minimum monthly payment is 1/36 of the balance due at the end of the billing period, rounded up to the nearest whole dollar. What is the minimum monthly payment due by June 9th? Okay, so because our balance exceeds $360, the minimum payment is going to be 1/36 of the balance date. Okay, so remember our balance from our previous problem was $9,661.11, which exceeds 360. Okay, so our minimum payment is going to be our balance due divided by 36. All right, which then gives us a total of $269. So the minimum monthly payment that's going to be due on June 9th is $269. Objective 2, understand the pros and cons of credit cards. So credit cards are convenient. They pay the entire balance, or you can pay the entire balance by the due date for each monthly billing, and you avoid interest charges. Carry over a balance, and interest charges quickly add up. So the advantages of credit cards are that you get to use a product before actually paying for it, right? No interest charges by paying the balance due at the end of each billing period. Responsible use is an effective way to build a good credit score because you need that. No need to carry around large amounts of cash because you just have this card. It's more convenient than using checks because you don't have to fill anything out. They offer consumer protection. So if there is a disputed or fraudulent charge on your credit card statement, we can let the card user know and the amount is generally removed. We can provide a source of temporary emergency funds, especially if you don't have a lump sum in your savings, you can use a credit card to help you. You can extend shopping opportunities to purchases over the phone or the internet. Simple tasks like renting a car or booking a hotel room can be difficult or impossible without a credit card. Monthly statements can help keep track of spending. Some card users provide an annual statement that aids in tax preparation. It may provide amenities such as free miles toward air travel. It's useful as identification when multiple pieces of identification are needed. Now the credit card woes. Okay, so high interest rates on unpaid balances can occur. So in 2009, interest rates were as high as 30%. No cap on interest rates. So in 2009, the U.S. Senate defeated an amendment that would have imposed a 15% cap on credit card interest rates. So now there's no cap. There's no cap on fees. Consumer Reports cited a credit card with an enticing 9.9% annual interest rate, but the fine print revealed a $29 account setup fee, a $95 program fee, a $48 annual fee, and a $7 monthly servicing fee. Nearly 40% of the $40 billion in profits that U.S. card users earned in 2008 came from fees. Furthermore, users can hike fees at any time for any reason. Read the fine print of a credit card agreement before you sign up. Easy to overspend. Purchases with credit cards can create the illusion that you are not actually spending money because you have all this money available to you. It can serve as a tool for financial trouble. Using a credit card to buy more than you can afford and failing to pay the bill in full each month can result in serious debt. So fees and interest charges are added to the balance, which continues to grow even if there are no new purchases. The minimum payment trap. So credit card debt is made worse by paying only the required minimum, a mistake made by 11% of credit card debtors. We pay the minimum and most of it goes to interest. So now let's understand the difference between credit cards and debit cards. So credit cards have been around since the 1950s, while debit cards were introduced in the mid 1970s. Although debit cards look like credit cards, there's one big difference. Debit cards are linked directly to your bank account. So when you use a debit card, the money you spend is deducted electronically from your bank account immediately. It's similar to writing an electronic check, but there's no paper involved, and the transaction happens instantly. Debit cards offer the convenience of making purchases with a piece of plastic without the temptation or ability to run up credit card debt. You can't spend money you don't have because the card won't work if the money isn't in your checking or savings account. The built-in spending limit can help you stay within your budget and avoid the debt trap that credit cards can create. However, debit cards have some important drawbacks. First, they may not offer the same protection that credit cards do for disputed purchases. So if someone makes an unauthorized charge on your credit card, you have strong legal protections and can dispute the charge before paying. But with debit cards, the money is already gone from your account, making the disputes more difficult. Second, it's easy to rack up expensive overdraft charges if your bank enrolls you in an overdraft protection program. So this program means your card won't be turned down if you don't have sufficient funds in your account to cover your purchase. So you are spared the embarrassment of having your card rejected, but it will cost you fees of approximately $34 per overdraft. And these fees can add up quickly if you're not carefully tracking your balance. So debit card purchases should be treated exactly like purchases for which you use a check. You want to record all transactions and their amounts in your checkbook, including any cash received from an ATM machine. Always keep track of how much money is available in your account. Your balance can be checked at an ATM, online through your bank's website, or through your bank's mobile app. Making this a habit will help you avoid overdraft fees and ensure you always know your available balance. So for objective 4, we're going to know what is contained in a credit report. So as a college student, you may not yet have a credit history, but once you apply for your first credit account, such as a student loan or a credit card, your personal credit report will begin. A credit report contains the following information. Identifying information. So this includes your name, your social security number, current address, and previous addresses. A record of credit accounts. So this includes details about all your open and closed credit accounts, such as when each account was open, the latest balance, and the payment history. Public record information. So any of your public records, such as bankruptcy information, appears in this section of the credit report. Collection agency account information. So any unpaid accounts that are turned over to collection agencies will be there. Information about such actions appear in this section of the credit report. And inquiries. So companies that have asked for your credit information because you applied for credit are listed here. So organizations known as credit bureaus collect credit information on individual consumers and provide credit reports to potential lenders, employers, and others upon request. The 3 main credit bureaus are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can get your credit report from the 3 bureaus free at www.annualcreditreport.com. Objective 5, understand credit scores as measures of credit worthiness. So credit scores or FICO scores range from 300 to 850, with a higher score indicating better credit. Your credit score will have an enormous effect on your financial life. Individuals with higher credit scores get better interest rates on loans because they are considered to have a lower risk of defaulting. A good credit score can save you thousands of dollars in interest charges over your lifetime. So below here is a table that contains the ranges of credit scores and their measures of credit worthiness. So 700 to 850 is considered a very good to excellent credit score. It will receive potentially the best interest rates on loans. 650 to 719 is good, so likely to get good credit, but not the best interest on loans. 630 to 649 is fair, so you may get credit, but only at higher rates. 580 to 629 is poor, so you'll likely be denied credit by all but have a high interest lender. And 300 to 579 is bad, so you'll likely be denied credit. All right. So your credit score will have an enormous effect on your financial life. Individuals with higher credit scores get better interest rates on loans because they are considered to have a low risk of defaulting. So a good credit score can save you thousands of dollars in interest charges over your lifetime. And lastly, objective 6, understand factors that affect credit scores. So since your credit score is so important, you should be aware of the factors that credit bureaus are using in calculating your score. So next we're going to go through a list and description of these factors. The circle graph that you will see shows the weights assigned to each of the factors when calculating your credit score. So first we have our payment history. That takes up about 35% of your credit score. So late and missing payments show up on your credit report and can lower your score. For a higher credit score, be sure to make your payments by the due dates. Account balances. This makes up about 30% of your score. High account balances may lower your score, especially when the balances are close to your credit limits. So keep any credit card balances well below the credit limits on the cards. Length of credit history is the next category. This takes up about 15% of your score. In general, the longer you have had credit, the higher your score will be. Credit mix, so this is about 10%. So for a higher score, it's good to have a mix of types of credit, such as credit cards, car loans, and mortgages. New credit, that takes about 10% of your score. So opening multiple new accounts in a short period of time is viewed as risky and may lower your score. Okay. All right. So what's the bottom line on responsible credit use? So a critical component of financial success involves demonstrating that you can handle the responsibility of using a credit card. So responsible credit card use means that you are paying the entire balance by the due date for each monthly billing. You are only using the card to make purchases that you can afford. You save all receipts for credit card purchases and check each itemized bill carefully for any errors. And you use your credit card sometimes, but also use cash on your debit card. So when you decide to apply for your first credit card, whenever that is, you should look for a card with no annual fee and a low interest rates. You can always compare the rates and fees online. I believe there's some websites like creditcards.com or bankrate.com. Those are some good ones that you can use. All right. Okay. And that concludes section 8.8.